Good morning, everyone. In wake of the horrible incident that happened in Texas yesterday, I thought that it would be fitting to have a video on the current situation and to really talk about how terrorist events and acts of violence can impact us as a society and as a whole. Today, you might be feeling a little bit more on edge, saddened, discouraged, angry. All these emotions are common and normal to experience after a tragedy. You might be thinking to yourself, but the incident didn't directly impact me, it didn't impact my family or friends, and I'm thankful for that. But at the same time, you're hurting, you empathize with those that weren't impacted, and you also might be questioning, how safe am I? You might be questioning today your very own existence and mortality. You might be questioning what's going on a more existential, global view of what's going on in the world and terrorism, and have all of these thoughts in your head. Things like, what is the purpose of life? Your brain goes to these places after such a complex event. It causes you to sometimes even experience similar reactions as if you've experienced the traumatic event yourself. And there is evidence-based research out there that does indicate that you do not have to directly be a part of an incident. There is something called vicarious trauma. So seeing this over and over on CNN and Fox and all of these news stations, CBS, local news channels, going to your local Starbucks for your morning cup of Monday coffee, and then seeing it laid out in the journal news, and then talking to peers, colleagues at work, and then they bring up the incident. So it's a cycle that perpetuates and continues. Because of these recent events, we've had so many, unfortunately, that even though you might have some of these reactions over time, they might dissipate. But then what happens again is this cycle continues and it cues your mind again. So all of those thoughts come trickling down again as if it just happened for the first time again. So it's this cumulative effect and impact that happens. Some common reactions after a trauma or witnessing or experiencing a violent event. A lot of times you might become hypervigilant, so just very alert, attuned to the environment, may see it as a threat, or just looking around and feeling fear, anxieties. Maybe a loud noise startles you, or someone looks a certain way, and you question that and become panicky. Another way that having an impact of trauma on you can occur is also you might avoid certain situations, events, places that might be similar to where a terror attack has happened. And I think the shock value of this incident too is that a place of peace and love and spirituality in a church is where this tragedy happened. So it makes people think, so such a sacred place, and we're still vulnerable as people. It makes you really think that our country is being victimized. Our United States is being victimized, that we're not safe anywhere. So it almost creates then this fight, flight, or fear response that I've talked about in previous videos of what do I do with this information? How do I cope with it? How do I, get over this? And for some, it does take a while for that fear and startle response to dissipate, especially if you were in the same location, if you were in the same situation in the past. Unfortunately, if you were in New York during 9/11, it creates this whole queue again of that incident and just reminds you of that. I think that also we might become the opposite effect And instead of avoiding or becoming hypervigilant, we might also become emotionally numb because it's almost like the new norm, like, oh, another terrorist incident. So it just becomes part of this habitual cycle that, you just have no more reaction to because you've had so many before, which is unhealthy as well. So I think it's now a culture of the unknown, a culture of fear, a culture of just not feeling normalcy. So I think that as a culture, we have to come together and be resilient together. We have to notice if someone might be impacted by what's happening and talk to that, have conversations with other people, come up with a strategized plan of, okay, God forbid there is a situation, what do we do? This way you feel more protected and safe and have a plan readily available for you. Turn off the TV. Try not to have conversations if it is bothersome to you, and try to just do things that make you feel good, happy, safe. And if not, to recognize that and to seek help, with a counselor, a trusted friend, a spiritual colleague, and talk about what's going on. I think that these conversations need to be had. And we need to bring to light what's going on in our country and have those real in-depth conversations, as hard as they might be. But they need to be said. So for today, hug your friends, hug your family members, and just be thankful that you're alive and what we can do to prevent future tragedies in the future. Take care.